Hello, Enjoy Tomorrow here. This is the first video in a series of videos that will explain all the characters in my Baldi's Basics classic fan game, Cleartil Boarding School. These videos will go over the thought process and history behind the characters' designs, their game mechanics, and finally how to counter them in-game. This first video will be about Cleartil, who is effectively Baldi's replacement in this fan game. Cleartil, despite being the main antagonist of Cleartil Boarding School, is meant to be more of a background character. This was done on purpose, as he doesn't originate from CBUE, Cleartil Boarding School's descendant, like most of the other characters do. But enough about Cleartil's origin, let's talk about his design history. Cleartil's overall shape is obviously meant to mimic Baldi's design, albeit in a slightly creepier way. The colors of his model have been specifically muted, as he is meant to be the least expressive and, for lack of a better term, most dead-inside character. His facial features were inspired by the appearance of the child library system from Petscop. There are lines under his eyes meant to make him look exhausted, upset, and sleep-deprived. I initially had a lot of trouble with Cleartil's design. At first I wanted his shape to be a bit more triangular and his face to be outright scribbled out instead of just his eyes, but I didn't like how it looked in a quick test design I made for him. Eventually, after enough messing around with models, it just sort of worked all of a sudden. I wish I could say there was a more specific reason to why it worked, but it just randomly happened. This led to Cleartil's original design, which was a lot less detailed than his remake/final design. It ended up being quite hard to recreate for the remake, as I didn't have the exact head shape anymore, but after some failed attempts, I did eventually create his final design. His fingers are less blocky, his head is now slightly tilted, and the lines under his eyes have been made much more apparent. His torso did also get changed so that it's not just one solid color. But now, let's move on to his game mechanics. Cleartil's game mechanics are pretty similar to Baldi's, but not exact. His movement is the similar part. He only darts forward every few seconds and doesn't move in a constant manner. The part that's different is how he finds the player. Cleartil does not find the player by sound, but instead always knows specifically what room the player is in. But this doesn't mean he always knows exactly where the player is, because he can only rely on sight to figure out where the player is in the room. This means that, if he doesn't know where you are, he'll inevitably find you by only wandering in your room. This also means that he might take strange routes to get to the player's room sometimes, which was done on purpose to make his behavior less predictable. When the player gets a question wrong, this little timer in the top right will also start moving. This is called the hour clock. The hour clock is divided into 6 hours, which, depending on the day and story mode, different things will happen around the map for some of the hours. But of course, this doesn't affect Cleartil. It's just a game mechanic tied to him existing. When the 6th hour ends, Cleartil will begin his harsh punishment. During harsh punishment, all of the other characters will disappear and all the lights will turn off. Cleartil will also become impossibly fast, so you're essentially dead shortly after harsh punishment starts. One other thing worth noting is that when the player completed all assignments but signed up for extra credit, he will teleport to the player and become hostile again a few seconds later. Apart from that, Cleartil's game mechanics are not too complicated. Cleartil has a few weaknesses, most of which have been turned into items in the game. The most notable being that he doesn't know where you are when he enters the room you're in unless he sees you. The cardboard box item takes advantage of this. He won't ever leave the room you're in, but he can end up wandering to the other side of the room. So you could technically hide in the cardboard box before he gets in the room, and he won't be able to find you until you get out of the box. Another item that takes advantage of this is the magic wand. The magic wand causes you to briefly become invisible. Cleartil will still move to where he last saw you, which is actually a good thing. You can take advantage of this by using the magic wand when you're in a somewhat open dead end, and then simply run around him. Some other items that are useful against him would be the camera and the paper airplane. If you use the camera right as he is about to move, it will technically be more effective than just using it randomly, since it doesn't pause his movement state, even if it actually prevents him from moving. The paper airplane is designed specifically to locate where Cleartil is. It will always go in the direction he will come from, and you can determine if it's safe to leave a room by doing this. If it disappears very quickly, he's probably right outside the door. Otherwise, you're probably safe to leave the room. But that's all the advice I have for avoiding Cleartil. It isn't too complicated. And that concludes the first installment of this series. This first one probably won't be as interesting as some of the other videos, since Cleartil is a more simple character with less depth. The next video will be about AES, who is essentially the replacement for Principal of the Thing. If you haven't played Cleartil Boarding School already, you can download it through the link in the description. Until then, stay tuned and thanks for watching!